I do hear. Okay. I have never stuck anyone with a knife deliberately. Okay. Or accidentally. But that's what it sounds like. Like if you've watched any TV and they stick the knife out and when they pull it out, there's that suction noise.
Yeah, I recognize the noise, right? Okay.
Okay. But I also feel like blunt force trauma.
Okay.
Okay. But there's only two people in the house at this point, besides the perpetrator.
Okay. Now, so how do you know that?
Welcome to Seeing Dead People, the slow burn storytelling podcast where our host, Nicola, challenges her psychic friend Darcy to communicate with the dead and unravel historical ghost stories, unsolved true crime mysteries, and all things paranormal. If you want to be spooked, amazed, and entertained, stick around for an astonishing, deep dive convo with the spirits on the other side. Radio Sydney presents Episode 22, Who Murdered the Paul's Family?
Hey, Darcy, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Well, as you know, I'm having a bit of an issue with a little bit of a buttock back, lower hip kind of issue, but I'm doing all right. And it's kind of fun. We're doing this again. We're making another big change in approaching the episode today for Seeing Dead People, Darcy, because last show, when we talked about Toronto's haunted Elgin and Winter Garden theaters, and I got to say, during that episode, Darcy, you were really tremendously amazing. That was a lot of fun. We chucked the phone call and we actually got together in person at Radio Sydney, and I just found that really stimulating and exciting. I got to tell you, it was thrilling to actually watch your instinctive reactions to when I'm talking to you and when you're looking at the photographs and getting a glimpse of how you react just on the spot. I thought it was really spellbinding.
Well, I have to say that I really enjoyed it. I wasn't too sure when we went into it, but it was a lot of fun.
Oh, cool. Good. All right. Well, today we're going to be a little bit of a change because today we're doing our episode using Zoom. So for the second time, we can actually see one another. And I now can see that you're knitting, which I'm glad to know, because I know it's a comfort level for you to knit while you're doing Seeing Dead People. So that's great.
Yes, I like to knit. That for me, it's great as well. But I'm also going to do some doodling this time because I believe this show is different, is it not?
I'm not going to tell you. We're just going to roll through it and see what happens.
Okay.
Okay. So for this episode, I'm going to bring us back to our home province of British Columbia. And we're going to spotlight this time the largest city, Vancouver. Now I've lost your visual.
Yes, I see that.
But I can still hear you. So we'll just keep on rolling.
Okay.
I don't know what happened to your visual, but
Me neither.
You're there.
It's there. It
Cool.
Turned itself off. Haha, look, someone's already going. We don't need to see her.
We can do this by audio. I got to tell you, I love your glasses. Are they teal colored?
Yes, they are. And normally I have pink and purple, but I broke them. Thank God for the dollar store.
Yeah, they're great because you can lose them and not worry about them.
Yes.
Okay, well, as I was saying, we're going to come back to BC and we're going to spend some time in our largest city of Vancouver. I discovered recently, Darcy, a really fascinating local website for the Vancouver Police Department's unsolved cold cases. Oh. And I thought, hey, why don't we have a look at an unsolved cold case where they're, actually actively looking for information, and maybe you and I can provide a little bit of information for them or find out some information about a case that's been unsolved for a long time. So I thought that might be a really neat mix.
This should be interesting.
Yeah. So as I reviewed the cases, and there's a number of interesting cases, I got to tell you, on that site, one jumped out immediately at me. So that's the one I chose. And I've decided we're going to go back to our original Seeing Dead People format, where I try to keep you in the dark about the case's circumstances, while you'll probably beat me to the punch, communicating with the dead and pretty much nailing the identity and the disturbing and spooky events surrounding the main event well before I have to reveal it to you. So we're going back to our original plan.
All right.
Okay. Now, before I even dip a toe in here, have you got any inklings?
Well, obviously, it's got to be a murder. Um,
Yep.
because otherwise we wouldn't be looking at it. And my next one would be, normally we look at families, so I'm going to go with family.
Oh, okay. Oh, man, you're zeroing in as usual quite quickly on what we're talking about. So we're going to slip back through time, Darcy, to early June in 1958 to a quiet neighborhood in Vancouver. Now, at the time, Vancouver was considered a small city where many folks didn't bother locking their doors, but something violent was in the wind. It was an era of innocence lost. The city's level of crime was surprisingly high. A number of women had been raped, and just 3 months earlier, a 39-year-old woman had been murdered in East Vancouver. So the residents of Canada's largest city on the West Coast were understandably on edge. Now we come to the night of June the 10th, 1958. Now, I've never asked you this before, Darcy, but can you tell me what the weather was like?
Wow, that's interesting. I'm going to say June. Okay. I'm going to say raining.
Okay, good, because it was bucketing down. Now, normally, Darcy, I would say June in Vancouver, it wouldn't be raining. So why did you say raining? Just because I asked you?
Because you asked me. Otherwise, I probably would have said, mild, sunny, depending. And I already thought the date. What if it was June 1958? Depending on the date, there's also a weather pattern. So I don't suppose it's around the 12th to the 17th, is it?
It's the 10th.
Oh, well, I was close. Okay.
So what happens around the 12th to the 17th from a weather pattern?
Well, it just felt like it was around the 12th or the 17th, which would be normally when we'd get a little rain.
You have that much of a finger on the spot of weather in Vancouver that you would know that?
I'd like to think so, yes. But instinctively, I heard rain because I heard the patter on a tin roof. And
Okay.
then I knew, and I don't know why I thought 12th to the 17th, but maybe something else occurred that's similar around the same time.
Okay. Oh, wow. So do you have a history of a lot of time in Vancouver?
I was actually born in White Rock, and I stayed in BC for almost 10 years. And then I moved to Alberta and then back to the Kootenays. So it's been all over the map.
Okay. So but you did have some experience with Vancouver weather. Cool.
Yes, I have.
Okay. Well, then it was, as I said, it was bucketing down that night, Darcy, drumming loudly on the streets and on the rooftops, which becomes kind of a key element in this mystery. So if you would, let's have a look at our first photo. And if you would describe it for us, what are you seeing, Darcy?
Okay, just a minute. Let's bring them up. First photo. It's a house.
Right.
Oh, it's a nice looking house.
Isn't it a sweet little bungalow?
Yeah. This would have been like prime real estate even now.
I would think, yeah.
Yeah. That very nice looking house. Family home, obviously. Fenced yard. It's definitely got the 1950 vibe to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and it says on the photo 1014 East 53rd Street, Vancouver.
Right. Yeah. So are you getting a sense of anything that might have gone on in this house?
Well, I hear, like, it's really weird because I do hear a gun. But it's like a single shot. The rest seem up close and personal, which normally would indicate a family of 4, right? Because there should be 4 people in this house.
Hey there. As you know, Darcy's an incredibly talented psychic, but even she can't tell if you enjoy this video and want more from Seeing Dead People. So please, click the like button and subscribe to our channel. Nicola and Darcy would greatly appreciate it.
Well,
And,
we'll keep going.
okay, there's the mom and the dad. I smell really weird because I smell like rubber.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I don't understand why.
Okay.
But there should be a girl for sure.
Okay.
But I swear she's got a brother. Okay, or another sister. I don't know. There feels like there should be two kids, a mom and a dad.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to show you the family portrait of the family that lives in this house, and they're called the Pauls. So that's Pauls. That's the family name. So if you look at photo number 2, you'll see the family trio called the Pauls.
Trio. That means
Right.
3.
That means 3. So there is no fourth child. I don't know if there had been any, there was no discussion about whether they'd lost a child before. No fourth child, but there is a girl. And when you look at them, Darcy, before we go to them, we'll have a close-up of each of their faces. But just generally, to me, they look like a really contented-looking family. What do you think?
Yeah. There's nothing that would scream out like there's something about this. Well, maybe the father, there's something screaming out, but they're obviously not Canadian, right?
Correct. Yeah, we'll find out a little bit.
And the reason I'm saying that is the way they hold themselves.
And they hold themselves in a very strict upright
line.
position.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, very much so. Would you say, where do you think they might be originally from?
Well, given the style and everything and the bone structure, I'm going to say Germany, Russia, Ukraine, Hungary, like in that area because of the coloring too.
Okay. Well, let's have a closer look at the Pauls. They were a pretty ordinary, blue-collar, hardworking family. They were believers in the pacifist, nonviolent doctrines of the Mennonite faith. We're going to show you in photo number 3 a close-up of David Pauls. He's aged 53. And as you have recognized, both he and his wife, whom we'll meet in a second, immigrated to Canada in their teens from Russia.
Oh, hello, Dorian here. I'm amazed at how Darcy understands so much about the Pauls family from just looking at a couple of black and white photographs. You may enjoy our other spooky and intriguing investigations into multiple homicide, like episode 17, the Villisca Axe Murders, and episode 18, the Vanishing Beaumont Children. Now, back to the horrendous events perpetrated in that modest bungalow that shocked the residents of Vancouver in 1958.
Oh, just a minute, finding them.
Okay, so he's number 3.
Okay. Well, he looks friendly enough. Like he wants to crack a smile, but he's afraid to.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. That his wife is very open with her smile. The little gal looks a little mischievous, and he looks like he's not quite ready to smile.
Yeah.
But he does.
There's nothing that stands out about him that would say criminal activity. He just seems like a normal, everyday father.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, in fact, he appeared to be just what you're describing, Darcy. He was a quiet man. He worked as a blue-collar fellow in the Woodward's store warehouse in the downtown of Vancouver. So let's now meet his wife. This is Helen Pauls. She is 47. She looks very warm and kind of grandmother-y, although she's only 47, but it's a style, I guess, of the 50s. What do you think?
Yeah, I would have said she was a lot older too, and more a grandma than a mom.
Yeah.
But then again, they were having their children later in life then, strangely enough. Again, there's nothing that says, do you know if she liked to cook? Is there any mention somewhere about it?
Not in particular, no, I don't think so. But they came from Russia. They were Mennonites, very much liked farming, working on the land, working with food. She looks to me like the kind of person who would have great food on the table all the time.
Yeah, and the interesting part is I'm wondering why they signaled out Vancouver, because most Mennonites tend to be around in a group.
Well, that's a good point on yours, and well spotted, because in fact, they were part of a Mennonite group in the Chilliwack area. They went to Saskatchewan, and they came to the sort of interior BC and then Chilliwack. And then I believe David Pauls became fed up with having to give a tithe of his income, as they are asked to do, to the faith. And so they split from the Mennonite community. And I don't know if that coincided with their move to Vancouver, but they moved to Vancouver and took totally different jobs.
Okay, that would explain the feeling I had that there was a disassociation, because you're saying Mennonite, and I'm not picking up that close-knit society where they do give a portion of their salary to the faith of Mennonite. And
Right.
I wasn't picking that up from these people. It's more about being centered on their happiness.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. They did step away from their religious group, and went on their own.
Which
Okay,
is very
now
seldom heard of.
yeah, and not common. You're right, and especially in the 50s. I mean, even today, there's a sort of a pressure to stay in the group, to stay with the family kind of unit, and for them to have broken free in the 50s, I think is quite remarkable. Now, maybe that plays into their future. We'll find that out in a bit. But what caused that, I really don't know. But I would imagine had to be something fairly significant. Paying the tithe was a standard practice and remains so for many religions. But
Yes.
for David Pauls and his wife to say we're done, I think is quite a major step.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay, well, Helen, just so you know, she worked in the afternoons and evenings as a shift in a nearby factory. So David worked the regular day shift. She worked afternoons and evenings. And the little gal, who's we're going to look at now in photo number 5, say hello to Dorothy. She's 11 years old. And can you communicate with this 6th grader in any way, Darcy?
Well, I don't think people actually called her Dorothy. I think they called her Dottie.
Okay.
And very happy kid, very happy. There doesn't feel to be friction between her and her parents whatsoever. Very much about in the moment, but also, as you pointed out, a little mischief around her.
Yeah.
Okay. But she doesn't strike me as a child that went out of her way to cause problems.
Okay. Well, Darcy, you have just met the 3 victims of Vancouver's first triple homicide.
Wow.
Yeah, wow, exactly. So, given that, can you tell me what you think might have happened around 11:30 p.m. on that rainy, wet, noisy night of June the 10th, 1958?
Well, I feel, okay, I sort of hear a knock on the door. Okay, I'm not sure about whether I feel familiar with the person who might have come in, but
Okay.
but when I leave this building, I feel it looks like someone broke in. Okay.
Okay.
And I feel like, I don't know, I probably would have, I do hear, okay, I have never stuck anyone with a knife deliberately, okay, or accidentally. But that's what it sounds like. Like if you've watched any TV and they stick the knife out and when they pull it out, there's that suction noise.
Yeah, I recognize the noise, right? Okay.
Okay. But I also feel like blunt force trauma.
Okay.
Okay. But there's only 2 people in the house at this point, besides the perpetrator.
Okay. Now, so how do you know that?
Because I wrote it down on a piece of paper. Okay. It would be father and daughter.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you guessing that because you know the wife is working, or are you knowing that because you sensed father house?
No, I didn't even think about the wife being at work because you didn't say what day of week it was.
True.
Okay. The only thing you asked is what I thought it was doing, and it was raining.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Okay. But I feel it's father and daughter because they're the 2 that stand out, and mom stands a little bit to the back, which means she would have been last.
You're saying you're seeing that in our photo of the trio.
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool. All right.
Father should have been first because he would have been the bigger person to handle.
When you say should have been first what?
First killed.
First killed. Right. And how would you see him being killed if you have an idea?
Well, I would like to say blunt force trauma and a knife.
Okay.
And I still hear a gunshot, but I don't know who to place the gunshot on.
Okay.
But I'm going to say I at least hear the gun, and I can. It's like it's not like a 9mm. Okay. It doesn't feel like a 9mm. The handle feels different in my hand, but I feel like a bat, something that is wood.
Okay.
And I feel a knife. So he came prepared.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll tell you a little bit more. Given the recent rapes and the murder of the gal who was 39 just recently, David Pauls had gotten into the habit of driving a couple of blocks down the road to pick up his wife, Helen, when she got off the bus after her shift around 11:45 p.m. So he was heading out the door, Darcy, the basement door, and he didn't get past the exit. He stepped outside the door, and at that point, he was shot.
Oh.
Okay. Not fatally shot, but shot. The criminal then took his keys because he had left the building and locked the house, gone into the house. Now, what did this criminal do at that point, do you think?
I would have thought he probably killed the child.
Okay, and
because I don't think he could take the child. Okay, so here, I've got two things going on here. One, I would have think that he came to get the girl. Okay. I would have thought he came to get the girl, but something happened. Either she started screaming, causing a fuss, and I feel like I have to stop her from making a noise.
Okay. You said you had two things going on.
Yeah, because one, this is sort of, it feels like revenge of something.
Oh.
Okay, like payment, but it's different. I think he actually has the wrong friggin' house.
Okay, well, there's many theories to why this triple homicide happened. Okay, we'll discuss that as time goes by here. Okay.
Just so you know, as this guy is doing it, he's nauseous.
He's sickened by what he's doing?
Yeah, but he can't, whatever transpired, it's not as though he can stop now.
Okay. Okay, well, interestingly, with the sound of the rain, it seems that the sound of the gunshot was not heard by neighbors or caused a disturbance. So he goes inside the house. Now, I want you to look at photo number 6. This is an actual crime scene shot of the Paul's kitchen as they found it after the trio the murders were discovered. And you'll notice, it'll be harder for you to see, but if you pinch in, that object on the table is actually Helen Paul's purse. Okay. And it's open. And to the right at the base of the stove is the family cat near the number 6.
Oh, Midnight, come here. Well, I'll just show you what got up on my lap to have a look at the pictures.
Your cat?
This minute. She got up and got down after she looked at the picture. Does she look vaguely familiar?
Wow, she looks exactly like the cat in the pictures.
Yeah.
Oh my. Whew, that's amazing.
I know. And look, well, obviously, whoever's taking the picture, the cat's watching.
Yes, absolutely. So the killer through here, do you get a sense of anything in this kitchen?
Well, he didn't stop to look for anything. He was definitely looking for the child.
So do you feel that this criminal came to this house for the child?
That's what it feels like.
Okay, right from the get-go.
Right from the get-go.
Okay, well, I'm going to take you to the next image, which is quite a disturbing image. So I'm going to warn you there. The suspect slips down the hallway to Dorothy's room where the little girl is asleep. Now, terribly and tragically, the individual bludgeons her to death.
So that's the smacking sound.
Yeah, I think it's more that sound than the sucking of a knife.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to tell you the details about what he may or may not have done to Dorothy. I'm going to just see if you have a sense of what he may or may not have done to Dorothy.
Well, first, I'm not feeling any sexual assault.
Okay.
Okay. I do feel like it's weird because I think he might have repositioned her.
Okay.
All right. And this almost feels like anger or frustration.
Uh-huh.
But I know that this is about the child. It's not about the father or the mother, to be honest.
Okay.
It is about the child. I keep hearing the word revenge.
You keep hearing revenge. What
Yep.
would be someone would revenge against a child?
Well, it wasn't against the child. The child was the revenge for something the parents might have done.
Okay. And do you get a sense of which parent it might have been?
Well, when you ask, I lean to the father.
Right. I mean, I guess that makes a little more sense, especially of the times. He would be the one who was out in the community more. He would be the one taking more responsibilities and being more forward and involved, perhaps in his community. But I don't know. I can't imagine what David Pauls would have done to somebody that they would take out revenge against him and his family by bludgeoning his little girl to death.
Yeah, that's just beyond understanding.
Right. Okay. Well, would it surprise you to learn? Yes, she was not sexually assaulted. However, the murderer wrapped her head with her robe and took off her pajama bottoms, but did not molest her.
No, that doesn't surprise me at all.
What would be the point?
The fact that he covered her head with her robe means that he knew her.
Okay.
Okay, because normally they cover their head because they know the person. But then again, on the flip side, he takes off her pants, which means one would think it should be a sexual assault.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, that's what they thought, that it was a sexual assault. Now, what I'm going to show you the next photo is it's very gruesome because it's actually an individual. So witnesses saw Helen Pauls running through the rain from the bus stop down her street to get home, okay, because her husband didn't pick her up. So she barely made it into the house, Darcy.
And she was shot?
Something happened to her. She was shot, exactly. She was shot. And what else might have happened to her?
Again, I'm not feeling like she was sexually assaulted.
Okay.
There's something else though, because again, I want to say maybe bludgeoned.
Revenge again?
Well, with the baseball bat or whatever it was he was using.
Okay. Well, before I show you Helen, I'm just going to give you photo number 8. And it's another shot of Dorothy in another photograph. And she looks a little different. Her hair is different. She looks actually to me a little bit older. And I don't have the dates of these photographs, but this one looks like she's older in it. Does this photograph tell you anything a little more about the poor little gal who was so tragically murdered here?
Well, I would say here she looks more like she's 8 years old, or not 8, but 12.
Right. So to me, this is one which she looks more like when she must have been killed that age. Whereas I think the other one was an earlier photograph.
Okay. So I know they've made peace with their passing, but they never caught the person, right? That's why this is a cold case, obviously. Duh, Darcy.
No, correct.
Okay. Would you know whether or not the J, like John, George, Jeff, Gord, George, would you know if that name is anywhere associated in this file?
not that I've seen, Darcy. There's absolutely no suspects named at all. And David, I don't know what David's second name was, but his first name was David.
Okay.
No, there are none of those.
Why I sort of feel like not just the fact he covered her face, I think she knew him.
Okay. Do you think what I had come to the conclusion of, I was trying to think like you, and I thought he must have known her because he covered her face. And perhaps he was about to sexually assault her when Helen burst into the house.
Yes.
You think that's possible?
That is very possible.
Okay. And let's have a look at photo number 9, and you'll see the result of what happened when Helen burst into the house.
999.
Now, again, this is a very graphic image, sadly. This is Helen Pauls lying dead in her hallway.
That's a little bit of violence, isn't it?
Isn't that? I mean, we're talking incredible overkill. And I know in the past you've said that is generally personal.
This is anger. This is all about anger.
And is anger not generally personal?
No, well, I guess in a way we could say this was because she interrupted him.
Okay.
Okay. But the way he killed her was definitely the anger issue is okay. So this is what I'm picking up. 5'2", 150 to 170 pounds, short. His hair goes back, like he slicks it back. Okay. Caucasian, light colored eyes, might have had some facial hair, worked with his hands. This is his first crime of passion, which would explain the nausea.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and he's about, I'll give him, and I'm really bad with age, so 24 to 42.
Okay.
In age.
And you said he's only 5'2"?
5'9".
Oh, I'm sorry.
Or sorry, 5'10". 5'10" is what I said.
And slick back hair, can you tell a color? Generally when it's slick back, they got something like Brill cream in it. It darkens it up.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I would have said darker colored hair.
Okay.
As well, like, well, when we look at Dorothy right now, she's got darker colored hair. Or, sorry, Helen. I would have said darker colored hair.
Okay.
And it's interesting because I don't see anything stolen.
Good point.
Like I don't see a watch gone. I don't see money taken. I don't see valuables gone. So definitely a crime of passion.
Okay, well, I think you're very much on the money there, Darcy. It seems that only things missing were discovered to be David's wallet, and I think his keys. That's it. And there were very few physical clues. So this individual, who's, as you say, was his first crime of this nature, my God, only left 3 clues that were to be discovered. One was a partially bloody palm print on the wall of Dorothy's bedroom, a partial footprint in the garden, and a dislodged rock in the garden, suggesting his escape route. Now, you may not be able to glean anything from a rock, Darcy, but in fact, that rock has been kept and it's in the Vancouver Police Department's museum. So if you want to look at photo number 10 and 11, we've got the shot of the garden itself at the side of the house, okay? And the dead center is this large rock, which has been dislodged. And then that in photo number 11 is a close-up of the rock. I don't know if you get anything from those 2 images at all.
Just a minute. This guy stalked the place out. So it was in intention to hurt the child because he knew where to wait to watch for the father to leave. The only problem is father hadn't left on time.
So when you say the father hadn't left on time, do you think he was hoping the father was gone and he could get in the house and not deal with the girl on his own?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So, well, okay, the father could very well have been a little late. I don't know.
The father's energy is right there too on the wall.
Is it?
Yeah, when I bring up the picture, the father's still there.
Wow. Do you see anybody else's energy? Do you see the killer's energy?
Well, like I said, I'm picking up the fact that he used to comb his hair back. He might have actually had a mask on too.
Okay.
You don't know if they had a dog in this house or a cat, do you? Oh, they had a cat. Yes, they did.
Yes.
Okay,
they
never
had a
mind.
cat, not a dog. Yeah.
Yeah. The dog would have made noise.
Right. So you said you
So-
thought he was a stalker.
Well, I think he knew that the father went out to pick up the mother.
So he cased the joint.
Yeah. Because it feels like this garden's been dislodged before and then rearranged and dislodged again.
And that means what to you?
That he's been there before. He's watched this place.
Oh, okay. Wow. Well, it's interesting because I believe David Pauls had only been picking up Helen for the last 3 months or so since the rapes and this terrible murder of this young woman that happened. So the stalking would have happened. I mean, David would only be leaving the house within the last 3 months every night to pick, every weeknight or whatever, work night, to pick Helen up.
So there were no fingerprints on that rock, huh?
No fingerprints on the rock. No weapon was found that was the weapon that bludgeoned the individuals. No gun was found, although the gun that was thought to be based on the bullets was a very small, much smaller gun than average, and something that was easily picked up in the States, they said, for $15. Very common.
Yeah. So just out of curiosity, do you know if there's any other deaths that occurred in this house?
I have no idea.
Well, I think there's a couple other people who may have died here from natural causes, but nonetheless.
Nonetheless, okay. Well, now we know that this family we think was targeted. This man was targeting the young girl. So we think then he was actually a pedophile trying to get her. Would you think he was going to take her from the house or assault her in the house before the parents got home? He didn't have a very large window, Darcy, because the father only had to drive a couple blocks to pick Helen up.
I think he was going to take the girl. Okay. But whatever, she woke, she startled him and he reacted.
Right. And blew it.
Yeah.
And obviously he was startled to find the father coming out the door, and he had to deal with him initially.
Yeah, because I would have thought he thought the father was gone, or maybe he, like I said, it could have been the wrong house originally, but when I look at it now, the answer, nope, this is the right house.
Okay, but what I'm screwing up is I said it was a possibility that Helen came in and disturbed the scene. However, another odd thing happened regarding the father. As I said, originally he was shot, but not fatally shot. At some point in time, the murderer went back outside, dragged the father's body into the house, down to the basement or through the basement door, and shot him twice in the head. Bludgeoned him and shot him twice in the head. So when did that happen?
That would have been after Dorothy.
But
Or not after Dorothy, sorry. I keep getting Dorothy and Helen mixed up.
Okay.
After Helen.
Okay, so we think first he had to silence and subdue the father, make his move on the child. Made his move on the child. The mother interrupted that move. He had to silence the daughter, dealt with the mother, and then went and dealt with the father finally.
Yes.
That's the order. Okay. That to me makes the best sense. Okay.
Yeah, because it was father was number 1, daughter was number 2, mom was number 3. That's how I saw it in their pictures.
Wow. And so when you're talking about the pictures, you said you saw that the mother was a little further back than the 2. Then
Yes.
is the father a little further up front of Dottie?
Yes.
Wow. And how obvious is that to you? I mean, are we talking really obvious distinction?
It's really, it's like a 3D effect for me.
Wow. Cool. And so he's jumping out at you. She's not so deep. And the mother's farther back.
Yes.
Oh, geez, that's amazing. Okay, well, some say that the murders were a mistaken identity, so the guy went to the wrong house. Okay. Others say there was some issue with David Pauls and his leaving the Mennonite faith. And then others say it was to get Dorothy. I think the police at the time were perhaps puzzled by the fact that there was no assault on Dorothy. But as we've discussed, that seems to make sense in that he was about to assault her when Helen came in the door and interrupted him.
Yes. And I do think the assault was to be for Dorothy.
Wow. Poor Dorothy. I mean, she was only 11 years old.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, that's why I thought she looked like she was 12.
Yeah. So can you get a sense from her or anywhere how this character first came across her?
At a bus stop. She walked past the bus stop.
Probably on her way to or from school or something?
Possibly, yes.
And he was attracted to her for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And you say you think this was his first rodeo, so to speak, or had he stalked
No.
before, but first murders?
It's his first murders. I'm pretty sure he's done this in the past. I think there's, if they go past the idea that there was a lady raped and look a little farther, they may find single events or possible reports of people feeling uncomfortable around someone, like, he's looking at me. But back then they didn't tend to voice that as much as they do nowadays.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So when I mentioned that there had been a series of rapes earlier happening in Vancouver and then a woman was murdered, do you think your suspect had anything to do with any of those?
Ooh, he might have had something to do with the lady who got murdered.
You think?
There's a possibility.
Because she was 39, so nothing at all like a little girl.
No, but then 39, it's someone who can be more defensive. A little girl can't be defensive.
Right. Okay.
So he probably thought, walk in, do his thing, and then leave. I don't know if he planned on killing her, but he came prepared for it. That's the problem.
Yeah, he came prepared with a gun. Well, we don't know what his blunt object was now, and that they didn't seem to notice anything missing from the house, the old baseball bat or poker or whatever the heck. So I don't know if he came prepared with a blunt instrument as well, but he certainly came prepared with a gun.
One of the things you're overlooking here is the gun has a handle.
Right.
It's a blunt instrument.
On its own. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty wicked instrument, actually, to be pistol whipped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my instincts is it's a bat and he would have taken it with him.
Okay.
He would have brought it and taken it, or something he grabbed right at the last minute. Not unless there's another rock, but it doesn't feel like a rock. It sounds like wood.
Okay. Wow. Well, so this guy must have spent some time watching this house, watching this girl and her family, getting a sense of their schedule and thinking this was his time, his opportunity to do this. And he came prepared for a fight, right? He came prepared to do real serious damage, to kill people.
Oh, yeah. Anyone who packs a gun is prepared to do damage.
Right. What do you feel about this guy? Has he, packed this gun in the past?
Oh, strangely enough, I can say no. So maybe he encountered something that made him fearful of his own life. Because when you asked the question, I heard no, he didn't used to pack the gun. This is new.
Okay, well, the gun wasn't from the Paul's house.
No. This is his gun. He brought it. There's no two ways about it.
Okay, so you're saying something else might have happened to him that forced him to think, I better be more prepared.
Yes.
I wonder if that was while he murdered the 39-year-old woman.
Could have been.
Wow. I have no idea. Cool. Man, and do you think he continued on murdering after this?
Huh. I want to actually say no, which is really weird. But my instincts all say no, this was his it.
This was it.
So then it makes me come back to the concept of this family is targeted for a reason.
I see what you mean. So you're coming back to the revenge again.
Yep.
Oh, well, what sort of thing could this family have done that would create such a need for this level of revenge?
You know what? Anything. It could have been anything, just like, if people are strange, anything can set a person off.
So you're thinking it wasn't necessarily deliberately related to David Paul's leaving the Mennonite community?
Nah. They'll find someone else to take that place and put the money in the coffers. I don't think it has anything to do with the Mennonite society.
Okay. Then it has to, if it's revenge, it has to be against one of the two parents. It can't be against the child, although she is, of course, the target of the revenge. So who is the one who caused the slight?
I'm going to go with the father.
Okay.
But this may have gone back even years ago. Like, this might not be, I know it sounds crazy, but it may even stem from his own home country.
The Russian mob?
No.
Okay.
Not them. Wow, this may have gone back years.
Well, he came to Canada in his teen years with his family from Russia. So it's hard to imagine, I don't know what age of teenager he was, but it's hard to imagine he as a teenager would have caused such a horrendous thing in Russia, but maybe his family did.
Maybe his family did, but you got to think of the McCoys and Hatfields, right? Generations of feuding for no reason, because no one can actually remember why they're feuding anymore.
Exactly.
And it could have been something like that, something that transpired, but saw him, run across him, and then followed him.
Wow. Okay, well, I'm going to pull back to recap a little bit here, because right away at the beginning, you thought we were talking about a family.
Yeah.
You presumed and you understood that it was raining that night. You heard gunshots. You thought there were 4 people in the house, and that intrigues me. I thought, when you said that, I thought, okay, you're thinking the criminal. But can you rethink that 4?
Yeah, because it could have been the criminal. There were 4 people in the house that night. That's what I kept seeing. A girl, a boy, and then the mother and father. So the boy, for me, given their ages, they could have easily had a 27-year-old to, 20, 21. So maybe my age bracket's out a little bit.
Okay.
But I would definitely say the 4 people that I thought were in the house pertain to the crime in progress.
Okay, so you're thinking that possibly the murderer was on the younger side than the older side.
Yes.
Okay. All right. That kind of probably makes sense too, about the way how horrific the crime was and how disorganized it was.
Yeah.
Okay. You also talked about, you knew it was a girl right off the top, which is, again, pretty remarkable. And you said there was a smell of rubber. I'm just bringing you back to that because I don't know what that's got to do with anything.
Yeah. I mean, neither. I don't understand what the smell of rubber was for.
Oh, okay. All right.
I have no idea. All I could do, unless the guy who committed the crime worked outside, doing road laying.
Okay. Yeah. It could have been a laborer like that. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. And part of the revenge idea is and the fact that he covered Dorothy's head, you thought was related to him knowing her. Could we expand that to him knowing perhaps just the family? Or would he have to do it just because he knew her specifically?
Could have been. No, it would be for the child. Because he didn't cover the parents' head. So he was remorseful for the child. So the child maybe wasn't supposed to die, but I hear panic, and that's what I feel.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a pretty good roundup of the deaths of these 3 people. I'll leave with the last photograph, which is another shot of the family. And it's not a very good, clean shot, but it makes me sad. They look like, again, she looks a little mischievous. She's got a little doll this time in her hand. Her mom is smiling, and I can just feel. She just seems to be like a very warm Ukrainian, Eastern European kind of gal, making lots of nice food and being very friendly. And he seems to me like a fellow who's keeping himself reserved, but he could be a very nice fellow if he just allowed himself to relax a little bit. And in the 50s, probably most men in the 50 age bracket, we're kind of stern looking. That was kind of the style.
Yeah. It's funny when I look at that picture, I think of hidden secrets.
Ah, okay. What sort of secrets might be hidden there, and who's hiding them?
I don't know the father, but I hear hidden secrets. That's what I'm hearing.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
Maybe more to the family than meets the eye.
Maybe. Nothing that's come to light, that's for sure, since 1958.
Wow, that's a long time.
It is a long time, isn't it, to not know what happened to these people?
Yeah, 63 years.
Yeah, pretty sad. Okay, well, thank you, Darcy. That was really interesting. It's a puzzler. I know why someone would do that to a family, but I think we managed to figure out the logic, if that was the case, of how this event went down. So It's pretty sad.
It's a shame.
Yeah, to massacre a family for God knows what. Yeah,
not even for a few bucks.
No, that's the thing. There's nothing really stolen at all. You just think. I should say people are strange. There's no doubt. But what a terrible tragedy and what a terrible waste to do something like that. And I think I presume the father was taken by surprise and therefore probably didn't suffer so much. The mother was taken obviously by surprise, but she was beaten. And I don't know how much she suffered, but the little girl saw him. I think that must have been terrifying for her. It's just heartbreaking.
It is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. Well, we'll just wrap up to say that was another really interesting one. Thanks very much. I just want to say to the listeners, if anybody would like to know more about the Paul's murder or other unsolved cases with the Vancouver Police Department, the website's really interesting. It's VPD, as in Vancouver Police Department, coldcases.ca. So, anybody wants to check that out. That's pretty cool. Okay, well, great. Thanks, Darcy. Another Seeing Dead People. Well done. Thank you very much. That was very cool and very interesting.
Okay, well, I look forward to the next one.
Yeah, me too. Okay, take care of yourself. Okay,
you
bye-bye.
Too.
Thank you for listening to Seeing Dead People, where goosebumps are guaranteed. We would love to hear from you with questions for Darcy about her psychic process or suggestions for other mystifying situations you would like us to investigate. Please shoot us an email to info@radiosydney.ca with Seeing Dead People in the subject line. New episodes air on our website, radiosydney.ca, on the first Saturday of every month. Episodes repeat Saturday nights at 8 p.m. and Sunday mornings at 10 a.m., both Pacific time. All episodes are available as downloadable podcasts at our website or on our YouTube channel, Nicola Furlong Mysteries. I'm Dorian Mortis, weirdly keen on seeing dead people. This has been a presentation of Radio Sydney.